Thank you, Aaron. Good morning, all. Good morning to members, officers, and members of the public, and some who are viewing us on live stream. Welcome to this meeting of the South Cambridgeshire District Council Planning Committee. My name is Peter Fane. I'm Councillor for Shelford and Chair of this committee. May I ask those who are joining us remotely to ensure that their camera and microphone remain off unless they're addressing the committee. And if anyone has questions on how proceedings of this meeting work, please ask Democratic Services. I'm not going to go through the full range of small print that I might previously have done. Committee members present in the chamber, I'll now invite each of you to introduce yourselves. Members, after I call your name, please turn on your microphone and say your name so your presence may be noted. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor.
Sorry, the construction noise.
Yeah, can we close the doors, perhaps? Yes, my apologies, Councillor Dr. Jimmy Hawkins. I didn't hear you because of the construction. Right. So I will now invite each of the members present to introduce yourselves. As I said earlier, my name is Peter Fane, Councillor for Shelford. I'm a member and my Vice Chair is Councillor Jeff Harvey. Good morning, Councillor Harvey.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Jeff Harvey, I'm the member for Borsham Ward.
And we have with us today Councillor Ariel Khan.
I'm Councillor Ariel Khan for Horsted and Cumberton Ward.
Councillor Dr. Martin Khan.
Hello, Martin Khan for Histon and one of the councillors for Histon and Impington Ward.
Councillor Bill Hanley.
Good morning, everybody. Bill Handley, one of the two members for the villages of Ober and Willingham.
Councillor Dr. Toomey Hawkins.
Good morning, everyone. Toomey Hawkins, member for Caldecott Ward.
Councillor Dr. Lisa Redrup.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Lisa Redrup, and I'm one of the members for Harston and Comberton Ward.
Councillor Peter Sanford.
Good morning, all. Peter Sanford, member for Caxton and Papworth Ward.
Councillor Heather Williams.
Third time lucky chair. Good morning. I represent the Mordens Ward.
Thank you. Do we have any other members present? Councillor Richard Williams.
I won't take offence, Chair. Richard Williams, Whittlesford Ward.
Do we have any other members present online or indeed in the room? I think I might have spotted them. No. We have some officers in the chamber for the duration of the meeting. I should confirm that the meeting is quorate. I'll come to apologies in a minute. We have some officers with us in the chamber for the duration of the meeting. Phil.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Phil McIntosh, Interim Delivery Manager for the Shared Planning Service.
And also with us we have Vanessa Blaine.
Good morning, everyone. Vanessa Blaine, Legal Advisor.
Lawrence de Murray-Homan.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Lawrence de Murray-Homan, Democratic Services Officer for the Planning Committee.
And I'm glad to say we also resume support from, on the technical support from our Democratic Services Officer, Aaron Clark.
Thank you very much, Chair.
And we will be joined by various case officers throughout the meeting who I will introduce as and when. If at any time a member leaves the meeting, would they please make that fact known so that it can be recorded in the minutes. I'm not going to announce the times of any breaks at this stage. We'll take a break as necessary, and I think members know how to signal to me if they feel that might be a good time. Can I just check that members have received the main agenda pack and the online plans pack supplement, which was dated 28th of April? Okay. Thank you. So, apologies. Item 2 on our agenda today, apologies for absence. Lawrence, any apologies for absence today, please?
Thank you, Chair. Two apologies today, one from Councillor William Jackson Wood and one from Councillor Henry Batchelor. Councillor Dr. Lisa Redrup has kindly stepped in for Councillor Henry Batchelor.
Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Members, we now come to item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members have interest to declare in relation to any item of business on the agenda? Obviously, if any interest subsequently becomes apparent, then please raise it at that point. Any declarations of interest? Councillor Heather Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Just that I'm a local member for something on the appeals number 7, of which they are a customer of my husband's, but they have withdrawn, so there's nothing that precludes me from the meeting.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest for anything on the agenda today? No. Right, we then come to item 4, which are the minutes of the previous meeting. So we have the minutes of the meeting on 12th of April before us today, which you will find on page 7 of your printed agenda. Any items of accuracy? Page 7. Page 8. And page 9. Can I take it by affirmation that we approve those as a correct? Councillor Heather Williams.
Thank you, Chair. As I wasn't present at the meeting, then I would like to abstain from the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, that said, can I?
Should I do the same? I wasn't there either.
Fine. Note that. I'm glad to say there are a few of us here who were present at that meeting, so I think we can probably still take it by affirmation. Good, right. So we then come on to item 5, which is on page 11. Thank you. Here we are. And this is application number 22-04280, outline. This is for land at the rear of 40A Middleton Way in Fen Drayton. And there are special considerations in this case. It's for the erection of one self-build dwelling. And the presenting officer is Tom Chenery. Tom, I think you're with us online. Would you like to... Tom, I beg your pardon, I saw you online as well. Can I welcome you to the committee twice then? Yes. We're with you. Please present this to us.
Thank you, Chair. Just bear with me for a second. Just want to get the presentation up on the screen for members to be able to see. Hopefully everyone can see that. Perfect. Thank you, Chair. The application before members today is the erection of one self-built dwelling at the site at the land rear of 40A Middleton Way in Fen Drayton. I'm recommending approval for the application. The application site is located within the former Fen Drayton Land Settlement Association estate. There is currently a few outbuildings on site and it's surrounded by residential dwellings to the west, north, east and south. So the application is before members today because the application raises special planning policy and other considerations. So the main considerations that members should be considering today is that the development is outside the development framework of Fen Drayton, sorry. It is in the former Land Settlement Association area, Fen Drayton. It is a self-built dwelling. Whether the proposal has any impact on the character and appearance of the area, whether there's any impact on neighbouring amenity, and whether there is any highway or car parking or cycle parking issues. This is a slightly more detailed plan as what I showed just there. So the site is an existing parking area associated with number 40A Middleton Way, which is just to the East Ulster plan, illustrating that in a second. But I thought just want to show this plan as it shows the existing buildings that are to be demolished. Within the former land settlement association policy, there are several eligible buildings that can be demolished in order for development to be allowed. These buildings, as part of this, are not part of those eligible buildings within that policy. So this plan just shows the same as the existing one, but it has the blue line outlined on it, which is the extent of the ownership of the applicant, but not part of the development site. So that does include the garden. I'll just get my pointer up, because I just want to point out that, so the garden for number 48 is included within here, and this land is associated as garden space and residential at present. So this is just the map showing the extent of the site and its location, whether it be near any areas of surface water or flood area. The sort of hashed purplish area, that is just the extent of the Land Settlement Association estate area. And then just to the west is the edge of the village framework of Fen Drayton. This is the Google Map view of the site. So these are the two buildings to be demolished, which I'm just highlighting with the laser pointer. So there's the building centrally, and then there's another building just to the west of it. A new dwelling has been built to the west of the site. That was done under policy H5. And that was using some of the eligible buildings that were originally on the site. And then there's a dwelling just to the south as well. That was, although that's a part of a different part of land, that was also a recently approved dwelling, which was also allowed under policy H5. I also believe that there is planning permission for development just to the north of the site as well, but that has not been constructed as of yet. So in relation to consultation responses for the application, the Parish Council have objected as they believe it's a breach of the Fen Drayton Land Settlement Supplementary Planning Document, and it covers buildings that do not qualify or are not applicable under the policy, as I mentioned earlier. The proposal would also set precedent that will be exploited. There's been no objection from Environmental Health, subject to conditions, no objection from the Local Highways Authority. There's been no objection from the Sustainable Drainage Officer, and there's been no objection from the Tree Officer. There have also been no third-party representations that have been received. So I'll just take you through some of the photos of the site. So, as you can see, it's currently used as sort of for storage of materials and a digger. There is no works commencing on site. It is simply just for the residential storage for the use associated with number 40A to the east. This building here being fenced off is one of the buildings to be demolished. And then this is the approved and built out dwelling to the east of the site, as I highlighted earlier. This is the entrance to the site, sort of through the unmade track, and this is number 40A itself. This is views towards the east of the site with the recently approved dwelling, and just showing the extent of the remainder of the site. This is facing northeast towards Fen Drayton in the far distance. And then this is the other building which is to be demolished as part of the proposal, which was previously used as a car repair auto body shop. There is a glass house on site, which is very common for sort of areas similar to this. From my understanding, that is not to be demolished as part of the application. So regarding the planning balance, one of the key material considerations for approval is that the dwelling is for the provision of a self-built dwelling. And also we consider that there is no harm to the local character of the area. However, in regarding matters for refusal, key material considerations are that it is outside the village development framework and it is contrary to policy H5 and the Land Settlement Association policy. Officers are recommending approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Brief opportunity for any questions on the content of that presentation. Any members have any questions for Tom? Jeff. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chair. I just wonder what the planning history of the workshop buildings that are proposed to be demolished is. Are they there sort of correctly under H5, or have they been just built without permission?
So there is no planning history for the two buildings that have been erected and are to be demolished. They were technically unlawful when they were built. However, because they were built such a long time ago, they are lawful and are outside of the 10 years enforceable period, because I believe they're constructed prior to 2012. The applicant did provide some information regarding that. So although they were not built with planning permission, yeah, they are lawful as of a couple of years ago.
And a brief question from me as well, Tom. You've referred to this being seen as contrary to the LSA policy and Appendix 2 and 3 of the SPD. I wonder if you could give us some guidance on the weight to be placed on the LSA policy, which is an SPD rather than a neighbourhood plan or similar, isn't it?
So there is two documents, or there's the policy, which is policy H5 within the local plan. That itself is very specific and is given weight within the planning balance. The supplementary planning document, that itself is completely different and it's its own document. That is also given weight, also not as much as the local plan policy. It also relates to the previous local plan, although is still applicable within the decision and the determination of this application. But the SPD provides guidance more than it does the actual local plan policy. Hopefully that makes sense, Chair.
Yes, thank you. You referred to policy H5. I don't think I saw that set out in your written report. Perhaps I missed it. Perhaps you could just remind us.
So within so it's paragraph 8.9 of the report, so on page 17, it just says policy H5 states planning permission for the redevelopment of existing buildings, excluding glass houses, will be permitted provided that the development complies with several criteria, including being a groundbreaking form of sustainable development. The buildings are no longer needed for agricultural purposes, and the development would not occupy a larger footprint than the existing buildings that are being replaced. That is an abbreviation of the policy, but it covers largely what the policy states.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bill Handley.
I just want to ask a question on the comment from Fen Drayton Parish Council that this proposal is setting a precedent that will be exploited. We've got a building that's going next door to this site, so is it setting a precedent? I mean, if that's been built in relatively recent times, is that a valid comment?
Yes, in a way, as this proposal is not seeking to build under policy H5, they're seeking to go outside of that policy, essentially. So I think what the parish council are getting at is that by not conform, essentially by going outside policy H5 in a special policy area, that they have concerns that then that would set a precedent that other dwelling houses could be built within the area outside of that policy. But obviously this land itself has its own policies that it complies with, and obviously there is the self-build aspect, so it is different in a way. So I don't think it could set a precedent in itself, because this land is very different to the majority of the rest of Middleton Way and some of the other former land settlement associated areas. But yeah, hopefully that clarifies that.
Okay, I think we then move on to our public speakers, and in this case we have just one public speaker, David Mead of the Planning Partnership, who I think is here with us today. Welcome. I think you know the rules. The floor is yours for 3 minutes, and then there may be some questions on the content of your presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and speak this morning. I won't go on too long. The report's excellent. It outlines all of the issues. I just wanted to highlight the fact that this application is submitted under the Self-Building Custom House Building Act of 2015, of which there is a duty on all local authorities to deliver a sufficient number of self-build properties within their local authority area, and there is currently a shortfall in South Cambs, and this may only be one dwelling, but it still helps to set that to help meet that shortfall. The applicant has lived in this on this site with his family for over 30 years. There is a local connection. There's been no objections from any of the neighbouring properties, both new residents and residents that have been there for a considerable amount of time. As stated in the office report, the site itself is effectively surrounded by a mixture of relatively new dwellings as well as older, more established dwellings, as well as a plot that hasn't been built yet to the northeast. Two buildings are to be demolished. They've both been there for some time. One that's been there must be for 30 or 40 years. There's no issues, no objections with regard to access on the site, and drainage is already available in the vicinity. As a self-build, the design of the dwelling under the rules of self-build, the design of the dwelling has to involve directly the person who will be occupying the dwelling. That's one of the fundamental rules, to make sure it is a self-build. Of course, that's an issue for the actual design of the building will come forward as a reserved matters application if you decide to approve this application. But of course, the applicant will continue that process and be directly involved with the design of the building to build it for themselves. The final issue I just wanted to refer to is the issue about precedent that the parish council have made reference to. Obviously, if a site of very similar circumstances with existing buildings surrounded by existing dwellings comes forward for a self-build, then perhaps that could be approved. But I don't think this would be setting a precedent for that, because that would be equally acceptable. And as Mr. Chenery has stated, there are very few examples within the former LSA of a site that has these exact characteristics. So I don't think it would be setting a dangerous precedent in this area or more widely within South Cambs. I'd be very happy to answer any questions if you have any, but thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for keeping that brief. Members, any questions on the content of that presentation? No, Mr. Mead, I don't think we have any questions for you, so thank you very much indeed. That was very clear.
Thank you.
Now, I don't think we have any specific comments from the local member in this case, who's not with us today. No. We have the Parish Council's comments before us, so I think we can then go straight into the debate, I would suggest. Does anyone want to open up the debate on this? Councillor Sandford.
Thank you, Chair. I am somewhat familiar with this area, and as the public speaker said, it is a fairly large area with a scattering of dwellings of various ages and sizes. There's no real character to it, so I don't see that this dwelling will do anything other than enhance the area. From the pictures Tom Chenery showed, it looks like there's a derelict building and a pile of junk, to be honest. So I think reusing this area would be a big asset to Fen Drayton in general. So I'm inclined to vote in favour of this application.
Councillor Dr Martin Khan.
I went out on Monday to look at the site because I felt that it needed to be looked at on the site. And I could confirm that the appearance of the site is of being relatively surrounded by other buildings, enclosed by other buildings, with apart from to the north where there is appears that there is now a planning permission available to be implemented. The site is tatty, I think is perhaps the word, and the buildings are of, well, I would say downright ugly. They're more than not of no particular merit, they're ugly. So that if a good design on the site will probably improve the visual character of the area. And I do take the argument of the need for self-build, and as long as adequate precautions are put in to ensure that it is a self-build dwelling, I think this, I'm tempted to, I'm pushed, my general feeling is towards approving.
Councillor Bill Hanley.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Councillors Sanford and Khan. I know the area quite well. I think this will actually improve the appearance of the area considerably, actually. The only thing I would say, or ask the case officer's advice on, is, am I correct in saying that the parish council's concerns over setting a precedent can be, it's not actually true if we approve under the self-build regulations. I'm not putting it in a very good way, but you know, basically, you know, I think we should take consideration of Drayton Parish Council's concern, but if we're going to accept this under the self-build, that's sort of you know, that's a higher balance in my book. I am inclined to you know, to approve, but can you just clarify that for me?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, so obviously the local plan is a material consideration here, and the development plan should be what you're assessing planning applications against. But there are other material considerations that you're entitled to take into account when making a decision on a planning application. And one of those, obviously, reasons in this instance is the requirements of the Self-Build and Custom Build Act. So what we're saying here in terms of weighting those considerations is that the provision of a self-build plot and dwelling in this location, in this instance on balance, is outweighing what the strict wording of the policy says in terms of eligible buildings that could be demolished for residential use. So as I say, it's a balancing exercise, and the weight you're giving that as a decision maker, which you're entitled to do in making and coming to your decision on it.
Councillor Harvey.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think my view on this is that any set of rules, like local plans, bound to sort of throw up occasional sort of corner cases and anomalies, and I think this is probably one of those. But I think that's probably why we have a planning committee, to bring a sort of common sense view to bear on those oddities. And I sort of agree that this is a particular kind of situation that's unlikely to crop up, or maybe it will crop up again, you know, but in low numbers. And I think overall, to replace those disused units with housing, which is in the middle of other housing, is probably the sensible thing going forward. So I would be voting for. Thank you.
Right. Members, I think we're probably about ready to move to a decision on this. We have the recommendation before us on page 24, paragraph 9, which is to approve subject to the planning conditions as set out. I think in coming to a view, it's important we have another look at the planning balance on this. I haven't heard anyone set out an intention to vote for refusal, so I'm not proposing to go into possible reasons for that, but I think it is important we should address that side of the planning balance, as on this slide which Tom Chenry put up for us earlier.
I propose we move to vote on this, please.
And how do you propose that we should vote on this, Councillor Hawkins?
Approval.
Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you. I've noted Dr. Martin Khan. Any contrary views? Can we take that by affirmation? In favour? Anyone against? I think that is approved as per the recommendation on page 24. So let's, and thank you again, Mr. Mead. Let's then move on to agenda item 6. So this is application number 2300375, full, 24 West Street, Comberton. This is before us because the application is from an officer of the council. It's for a proposal to replace existing outbuildings with a 3-bay single-storey garage with a monopitched low-profile roof. And the presenting officer is Charlotte Spencer. Charlotte.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi, morning, Chair.
Thank you.
Can you just confirm you can hear me clearly and see my screen?
We can indeed, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, this is an application at 24 West Street in Comberton. It's for the replacement of an existing outbuilding with 3-bay single-storey garage with monopitched low-profile roof. It's in front of committee today as the applicant is a member of staff. Just a quick update. Since the submission of the report, officers have decided that the reason for refusal 2 should be reworded to clarify that the concern lies only with the impact on number 14 West Street, and reference to number 18 has been removed. So the new wording would be the proposed garage, by reason of its scale and proximity to the neighbouring property, would have a detrimental impact on the outlook of the ground floor window of number 14 West Street, causing an unreasonable sense of enclosure and therefore a neighbourly form of development. The proposal is therefore contrary to the National Planning Policy Framework and Policy HQ1 of the South Cambridgeshire Local Plan. So just to go over the location, so the application refers to a 2-storey detached dwelling located to the north of West Street. It's set back from the road quite considerably by over 17 metres of hard standing and soft landscaping. The site lies within the Comberton Development Framework and Conservation Area. It is adjacent to Grade 2 listed buildings at numbers 14 and 18 West Street, as you can see here. So the proposal involves the demolition of an existing outbuilding, shown here, and the erection of a 3-bay single-storey garage. Would be located to the front of the dwelling, approximately 1.5 metres from the boundary with numbers 14 and 18 West Street, and approximately 3.2 metres from the front boundary. The site plan does include a new gate to the front, however this does not form part of the application. It's considered to be permitted development. Okay, so these are the plans of the garage. It would have a width of 10 metres and a depth of 6 metres. Be characterised by a mono-pitched roof with a maximum height of 3 metres. Just to clarify in terms of the site history, in 2021, the Planning Committee granted a certificate of lawfulness for a concrete base for the siting of a caravan, 2-metre high gates, boundary fence and installation of gravel parking area. Members are advised that this certificate of lawful development only confirms that a concrete base can be constructed and not the caravan itself. The siting of a caravan on the land is not operational development and therefore does not require planning permission. Elevations were only submitted to demonstrate that it fell under the definition of a caravan. A caravan is movable, and this is materially different to the erection of a building. As such, the placing of a caravan on the land is not considered to provide a credible fallback position which carries material weight when considering the proposal for the building. So the material considerations are the design, layout and scale, impact on heritage assets and residential amenity. The parish council had objected and 2 neighbour representations in objection have been received. Officers recommend refusal as per the refusal reasons laid out within the report and as per the amendment stated at the start of the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that presentation. I wonder if you could just confirm that the revised reasons for recommending refusal relate to paragraph 2 on page 35 and not paragraph 1.
Through you, Chair, that is correct. Paragraph 2.
Thank you.
So the proximity to the listed building at number 18 is still relevant.
Number 14, not number 18.
Sorry, paragraph 1 at the moment reads that the proposed garage, by reason of its scale and siting in close proximity to grade 2 listed buildings at number 14 and 18 West Street, and perhaps I've misunderstood it, paragraph 2 relates to detrimental impact on the outlook of the ground floor windows of number 14.
And paragraph 1 is relevant to both 14 and 18.
Yes.
Yes, and just 14 for paragraph 2.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions from members of the committee for our presenting officer? Seems very clear. And we have one public speaker, Alistair Funge, attending in person. Alistair, I think you know the system. The floor is yours for 3 minutes, and if you would stand by for any questions at the end, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Chair. I've had to amend mine at short notice because of the change in the reason for refusal with regard to number 18, but I will do my best. Firstly, let me address the planning officer's assertion that the proposal will have less than substantial harm on the character and appearance of the conservation area. This is contrary to the Conservation Officer's comments, which state the description of the proposed garage looks to be acceptable for this location, and the Parish Council support the design of the outbuilding and feel that it is fitting for the conservation area. Hence, the design itself is considered acceptable within the conservation area. Could I have photo 1, please?
We'll bring that up in a moment.
Okay. Well, photo 1 is a view of the site from the west, taken out from the footpath to the south of West Street on the corner with Barron's Way. I would then ask for photo 2.
Shall we wait for photo 1 first?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Right.
In fact, that shows a view along West Street. Actually, that one is from outside number 17 West Street. So as you can see from the photo, the garage will not be visible from the public highway. Could I have the next? This is the view from the other side, which again shows that the garage itself would not be visible from the public highway. Could I have the next photo, please? This is a straight-on view of the site. You'll see cars parked in roughly the position where the garage will be, although they will be further back and less than visible. And with the gates that were included on the proposed site plan, you won't be able to see anything at all. So it's said that a picture paints 1,000 words, and I hope these photos demonstrate that the garage will not be visible from West Street and have no impact on the street scene. As I say, the installation of the gate shown on the proposed site layout plan would further limit the views into the site. And I submit that the impact of the proposal on the conservation area is positive, enhancing the conservation area, as the proposal replaces an existing unattractive and decrepit shed and an elderly caravan. Could I have photo 5, please? Which is unlike an example 3 doors down, which is number 32 West Street, which is an adjacent to White Horse Cottage, 28 West Street, a Grade 2 listed building. The west elevation of the listed building, 14 and 18 West Street, is screened by the 3.2 metre high yew hedge and a mature yew tree at the front of the site, as you've seen in photos 1 and 2. And therefore, the settings in terms of the view of the listed building from the public highway would be unaffected. An existing shed and caravan occupy the land where the garage is sited, and these unattractive items would be replaced by a structure acknowledged to be acceptable in design in the conservation area. The proposed garage would be subservient to the listed building with a height on the east elevation of 2.5 metres and a low profile mono-pitch roof design. It would be a similar height to the existing shed. The west elevation of number 14 West Street has a ground floor window with a first floor window directly above. The ground floor window serves a hallway and staircase, and the first floor window serves a landing and staircase, both non-habitable rooms. Whilst the proposed garage is in front of the ground floor window, it is set 1.5 metres away to allow for light to reach it. The hallway will also benefit from the light afforded from the first floor landing window. The planning officer cites reason for refusal number 2, as the proposed garage, by reason of its scale and proximity to the neighbouring properties, would have a detrimental impact on the outlook of the ground floor windows, originally including number 18, but now only number 14. The outlook from number 4, the proposed garage was designed with a low profile roof to minimise its impact and not block the first floor window of number 14. Loss of a view is often cited in planning objections by homeowners concerned about how this will affect their property. There is no right to a view under planning system. It is accepted that unlike loss of view, a loss of outlook is a valid planning objection. Loss of outlook is difficult to quantify and necessarily involves a degree of subjective judgment on the part of the planning officer. I submit that the loss of the outlook to the ground floor window of number 14, being a non-habitable room, should not be allowed to unduly influence a decision. The current outlook, comprising of the elderly caravan, shed, building materials, dustbins, is effectively what the outlook is, and the window is normally covered with a very thick net curtain. Also, if you put it in context in modern terms, the privacy, in terms of privacy, if these windows on the west elevation were subject to a current application grant of approval, they would have a condition attached requiring them to be permanently fitted with obscure glazing and non-opening, with no view of the neighbouring property and no outlook. The proposed garage will have a positive impact on the fabric of the listed building, having a footprint of 60 square metres.
Can I ask you to just come to a conclusion, please?
Well, this is an important bit. Okay. The proposed garage will have a positive impact on the fabric of the listed building, having a footprint of 60 square metres. The rain falling on the area would normally percolate into the ground adjacent to the listed building. The roof of the garage will allow the surface water to be collected and challenged to soak away 15 metres from the west elevation of the listed building, helping preserve the structure of the building by ameliorating damp problems. In addition, the owners of number 14 have requested a French drain be installed to assist with the damp and help preserve the building. I'm happy to undertake this work on a voluntary basis as part of the development in order to be neighbourly. This is something I've done previously as a good neighbour of the owner of Rosemary Cottage, number 20 West Street, which also adjoins the eastern boundary.
Sorry, Mr. Funge. A conclusion, please.
Okay, could I have photos 4 and 5? This is a recent development at a listed building within the conservation area, Oak Dean, number 17 West Street, diagonally opposite the site. And as you can see, this is acceptable within the conservation area and within the setting of an existing listed building.
Right. And a quick look at 5, and then if you could conclude your remarks, please.
Okay. Having regard to all these points, I believe the proposal is acceptable in terms of its siting within the conservation area and adjacent to a Grade 2 listed building, and I ask that the committee approve the applications.
Thank you for that. Any questions for Mr. Funge from members of the committee? Yes, Councillor Dr. Martin Khan has a question for you, Mr. Funge.
First of all, I visited this site on Monday, and I would note that I spoke to Mr. Funge, but I didn't express an opinion. Looking at the plan, there appears to be a second ground floor window behind the building, and they refer to when used as a study. I just wanted to check what the actual situation is. Is there a second proposed window behind the proposed building on the ground floor with which separate onto a separate room, or is the rest of the site a blank wall?
Are we talking about number 14 Butcher's Cottage or number 18?
Between the buildings are, so you have to tell me. How many windows are there behind the proposed building, and are they both? Are the ground floor windows both going to a stairwell, or is the one in fact to a room?
Subject quoted in the refusal serves a toilet. The window in number 14 Butcher's Cottage serves a hallway and stairwell.
Okay,
thank you.
Councillor Dr. Toomey Hawkins.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to say thank you for the photos that you provided. That was quite helpful, actually, because that's one of the things I was going to ask. But it's not a question for Mr. Funge directly. I'm just thinking, looking at the reasons for the proposed refusal, what I have not seen, because it's not been a site visit, is the actual outlook. That seems to be the problem. And I would like to propose a deferral, please, for a site visit, so we can actually see it from the number 14.
Okay, well, some members have looked at it, but is that something which, with the right photographs, might be possible without a deferral?
Chair, we haven't seen the outlook from number 14. From this window that supposedly is a big thing that is being used as a cause for refusal.
Okay, before we come to a view on that, can I just ask Phil McIntosh to comment, and then I think Bill Handley, Councillor Handley, I think yours is on the same point, is it? Yes.
Just through you, Chair, it may be worth Charlotte just clarifying the window in question. My understanding is a study in number 14 at ground floor level, which would be a habitable room. And that's the window that is the cause for concern. I understand Councillor Hawkins' point, but Charlotte might be able to give some more clarity on the positioning of that window.
Could I address that point?
I'll come to you in a moment, Mr. Funge, may. Councillor Handy, you wanted to comment on the same point.
I'm just supporting Councillor Toomey Hawkins. I'm not clear myself on this point, and I'd like more information.
Let's just see if we can clear this up a little from the block plans, which I think we have now up on the screen. Mrs. Spencer, what are you able to throw any light on this from the block plans submitted?
Yeah, so there are two windows facing the garage. There's one in number 14 and one in number 18. We are not concerned about the one in number 18, as we understand this serves a toilet. The one in number 14, based on previously submitted plans for number 14 and comments made by the occupier of number 14, this serves a study, which does include a stairway up to the first floor.
Could I ask you to convert your pointer to a laser and just make it absolutely clear which windows and which viewpoint we're referring to?
It's this one here.
So there is a window on a boundary being the study at number 14, which faces directly onto the proposed building. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yes. I'm going to just take Councillor Heather Williams first, and then I will come, because there's a question Mr. Funge may be able to help us on. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Just one thing I'd like to clarify, because we've also said this study has the stairways in it, and I appreciate some older buildings are, but for example, in my hallway, I have a desk, but it's not habitual room, it's not got a single window. So I think we need to know, is it just because it's a slightly bigger area than normal that it's been used in that, but it's not actually classified as a habitual room, or is it an actual room itself? That's the first thing that I'm not clear on. The other is, from the images and everything we've been shown, what we're actually asking is, what is the current outlook from that window? Because from what we can see, it's a whopping great big hedge, and this garage is going to be behind the hedge. So if part of the conditions was that the hedge must be retained, then the outlook isn't going to change at all from this development. So I think that's why we're struggling with this, Chair.
Yes. Councillor Dr. Martin Khan has visited the site.
Yeah, I
yesterday,
visited the
so
site.
maybe I'll help us.
The window on the outside. I can't say what's inside, but I can say that the window at present is hidden behind a group of building, a caravan and some houses, cars. It is quite, which do almost as high as the window itself. So it is affected by the cars outside. It's not behind the hedge, it's behind the cars, which are on the parked in the front area.
Yes, I'm going to come back to Charlotte Spencer again on this. Are you able to help us on whether this is a habitable room for the window concerned?
Based on my understanding of what is considered a habitable room, we would say that a study is a habitable room.
Right. Mr. Funn, would you like to comment on that?
Yes. Just prior to the submission of the application, my wife went round to see all the neighbours, show them the plans and discuss it with them. At that time, there was no desk in the stairwell at that. So it's appeared after the application was submitted. I, like Councillor Williams, I have an upstairs landing which has a number of bookcases and an armchair. I don't consider it a library.
Right. So there's some question here as to whether that is a habitable room. Councillor Dr. Richard Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say
Is this a question for the...
no, it's not. It's a comment to support Councillor Hawkins. I think we need to see this site. I feel very strongly, having heard the arguments, it's very difficult to judge without actually seeing it.
I think there is a feeling around the committee that we do need to see the site. I have a proposal to that effect from Councillor Dr. Jimmy Hawkins. I think I have a seconder. They can fight it out between themselves as to which second is it.
Willing to second that.
So, yes, but I only need one. Thank you, Doctor. Councillor Dr. Khan, we have a proposal and a seconder. I'm proposing to move to a vote. Are you happy with that?
Yes, I was only going to comment that having visited the site, I would agree that I think it's necessary. I think people would be helped by that.
Right. I think that is broadly the view of the committee. Is anyone opposed to us deferring this so that we can visit the site? And therefore coming back to this on a future occasion? Can we take that by affirmation then? Agreed. Thank you for that. I should perhaps have asked beforehand whether that causes any particular problems, but if it does, we'll have to address them when we come to them. So we have decided not to determine this application today, but to visit it on a future occasion and to decide it then. Mr. Funch, thank you very much for coming along and putting that to us. And I'm sure you will be happy to receive us in due course to have a look at this.
No problem.
Thank you. Right. Well, we have no further applications before us today. We have not resolved that one, of course. Let's then move on to item 7, appeals. And you have this before you on page 37. This appeal is set out here. I think Phil McIntosh is going to respond to any questions. Do you want to present to us before?
I'm happy to take any questions if members have got any questions around the appeals that are listed. So yeah, I haven't got anything to particularly report on through those.
Okay, any questions from members on the appeals as listed? Appendix 1. Councillor Dr. Judy Hawkins.
Thank you. Page 40, the Codical one that was dismissed. Happy to see that because we do need that. We do need that path.
We'll note your reaction to that.
Thank you.
I note that on page 41 we have land adjacent to 26 Church Street in Little Shelford, which was dismissed, but it was a non-determination, and we now have those listed separately. Also under appeals, we have Appendix 2, page 43. Any questions for Phil McIntosh on any of those? And then, I'm sorry, Councillor Dr. Lisa Redrup.
I was just wondering what the reason for the appeals was, particularly the one in Haslingfield, please.
Which one are you referring to? Which page number? Page 43, is that?
Yes, this is Appendix 2.
Yes.
So it's a 44 Broad Lane address. Just in general, that table doesn't show the reasons, and I was just wondering about that. Thank you.
The reasons for refusal, you mean? Or
These are appeals that have been lodged, are they? So I was wondering, is it non-determination or is it appealing a decision that's been made?
I'm sorry, I don't know. Actually, it's not listed as you say.
No. Are you happy to accept that? I mean, I'm sure that will be. It does seem to be.
I can find out for you and let you know.
You have. We'll deal with that later.
Thank you very much.
It does seem to me we have Appendix 1, which contains a fair bit more information than the appeal set out in Appendix 2. I don't know why that is, but it's quite difficult to see from Appendix 2 the sort of information that Dr. Redrup was asking for, and I wonder if there's a particular reason for maintaining the Appendix 2 format.
I'm not sure, Chair, to be honest.
Perhaps we could review that.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. And then before we go to the compliance report, we have Appendix 3, which is local inquiry and informal hearing dates. And we have an inquiry due on land north of Cambridge North Station. That'll be in June. And then informal hearings as listed on page 45. Any questions, comments? No. Page 47, we have appeals awaiting decision from the Inspectorate. Any questions or comments on those? Page 48, page 49, 50, 51, 52, 53 and 54. And then at Appendix 5, we have appeals pending statement. Right. Can we move on then to the compliance report? I think we have Chris Braybrook present.
Good morning, Chair.
Chris, good
Hopefully
morning.
you can hear me. Good morning. So the compliance report for this month amount in changes. I've provided some information just about how the online forms are still being used at this moment in time. But I would just like to say we have offered, when it comes to my update on staffing, we have offered a candidate a position that has been verbally accepted. So hopefully we'll have that post filled soon, and I'll be able to update with a start date and the such like in the next committee meeting. I'd also just like to let the committee know that the part where I've spoken about acknowledgement emails for enforcement cases, that has actually gone live today. That is now up and running. So when councillors, members of the public do the fill in the online complaint form, when that is then transferred onto the planning enforcement database and a case officer is assigned with a reference, an automatic email, as long as an email address has been given, will then be sent to the person who's made the report, letting them know the case reference, the case officer, and how to contact that case officer for further updates. At the last committee, I was asked about anonymous complaints. I'm still looking at getting the website amended so that we can advise the public about contacting their elected ward members or parish councils to raise a complaint on their behalf, and how to find the details of the ward members. And I'm hoping that will be sorted out for the next committee, and I can update you on that as well. Let me just go to sorry, I've got it open. Let me just go to Appendix 1, the update in Appendix 1. We now have quarter. No, I don't have the new quarter updates because I hadn't got to the end of March, so I apologise for that not being on here. But the new quarter 1 final quarter will be on the next report. And enforcement notices issued. We issued notice in March, which was an enforcement notice, a temporary stop notice, and a stop notice for Bridgefoot Farm Kennels. That's at Flint Cross on the A505 heading towards Royston. That was for a change of use, operational development. So that was a B8 storage and distribution use for chicken eggs, and there were some extensions to an existing buildings. So those notices prohibit the use of the land for B8 and require the removal of the unauthorised additions to the buildings. We issued a temporary stop notice and then a full stop notice as well, due to the highway safety concerns of that site and an access onto the A505. The temporary stop notice and full stop notice is currently being complied with. The B8 use on the land has currently ceased. A appeal has been submitted against that enforcement notice. However, I do not have a start date for that at this moment in time. And that concludes my update. I do have an update for the committee as well from Neil Langley. Just bear with me, which he's asked me to.
That we are going to consider some matters in closed session, which I think you'll be speaking to us about. And I don't know quite whether this is the one you're referring to, but if you're going to go on to those matters, we will need to formally close the session first. So, sorry, carry on, Chris.
Well, this was just an update on. This is Neil Langley's update on the Smithy Fen chair.
So we'll come back to that.
Okay, all right, not a
Perhaps
problem.
we could just take any questions from members before we go on to that one. Take any questions from members of the committee. On your compliance report, you refer in the last paragraph to updates on significant cases and say, should members wish for specific updates to be added to the report, they should be addressed to you and for the next available planning committee. I don't know whether members have any particular requests that they have made or any particular updates they would like to have considered. Councillor Heather Williams.
Thank you, Chair. There is a very long outstanding, which some members may be aware of, particularly probably Councillor Toomey Hawkins, in relation to White Farm in Croydon, where there's been lots of crossovers. I think it would be advisable for that to now be appearing on the report, given the length of time it's taken.
Can that appear on the next report for us?
Yes, it can, not a problem.
Thank you. Any other queries from members of the committee? You and I have spoken about a couple of cases just relating to, firstly I should mention the compliance issues in relation to Duck End in Girton. The two local members met with me the other day to stress how strongly they support the parish council's view that this must be carried out as set out in the inspector's report on that appeal. I just wanted to register that, probably no comments needed unless you want to. Also, in relation to my own ward, I have raised with you a number of concerns going on about the construction going on number 6, Redlands Close, which I think you're aware of. I don't know whether you have any comment for the committee on that.
The only comment I have at this moment in time is that my officer who's dealing with this site will be going back on the concerns raised on the departure from the plans. At this moment in time, I can't answer you about those departures because he has not been to site since our emails. I will be replying to the further communications from the neighbours on the further points that have been raised, which I think you were copied in on, and I will copy you back on that. I have explained the limitations of the construction management plan, which is rather unfortunate. However, as you're aware, Chair, we are kind of constrained by what is written in those construction management plans and the lack of what's written in those plans as well. So it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword. I understand the frustrations of the neighbours there, but we will be limited in what we can and can't do to sort out the problems they're currently experiencing.
Well, perhaps that one we could also come back to next month, on the report next month. Thank you very much for that. I'm proposing to now go to item 9. Members, we come to the exclusion of press and public, which is required to allow us to hear item 10. And whilst it might be noted that there are no press or public visible, we nonetheless have to take this motion. I propose that the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following item, item 12. Item 12, I think it's item 10, isn't it? Item 10, yes, sorry. Item 10, in accordance with section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, on the grounds that if present there would be disclosure to them of exempt information as defined in paragraph 7, part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act. And paragraph 7 refers to information relating to any action taken or to be taken in connection with the prevention, investigation or prosecution of crime. Members, I'm sure it will not be apparent to you that I was actually reading that. So I propose that. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Dr. Toomey Hawkins. Can I take this by affirmation? Thank you.